Hello Year 11 and welcome to your third GCSE Religious Studies revision video for Paper 1 Christian Practices. This time focusing on pilgrimage. My name is Miss Smith and I'm one of the Religious Studies consultants for the Federation, and I've created this video to help support you to prepare for your exam. In order to do this, I'll be using the revision checklist that you have available to you. You know that you can find these checklists on Padlet, in Student Essentials, or you can ask your Religious Studies teacher to provide one for you. This video, as I said, is going to focus on the topic in Christian practices of pilgrimage. So if you have a look at your checklist, go about halfway down, you can see that you need to know about the Christian pilgrimage to Lourdes and the Christian pilgrimage to Iona. We've also created some columns for you to tick off whether you're confident that you know two ways of doing something, the importance of doing this thing, and a quote for this thing as well. And the reason for that is because if you are able to do that, you will be prepared for any 1, 4 or 6 mark question on the exam paper. Plus, you'll be giving yourself some great foundational knowledge to help approach one of those 12 markers. So all of our revision is going to be structured around this format to help you prepare for the different styles of questions on the paper. So let's start with pilgrimage. The definition of this is a journey undertaken for religious or spiritual reasons, often to a sacred place or site. And what you need to know is that there are 2 Christian pilgrimages, in case it comes up as a 1 or 4 marker. So 2 good ones are shown here on the screen. So our first one is the pilgrimage to Iona, which is an island off the coast of Scotland where Christianity first came to Britain, and it's known as a thin place. And then you've got a pilgrimage to Lourdes, which is a place in France where there was a vision of the Virgin Mary, and it's believed to be a place of healing. So for your 6 mark questions, you will need to explain why things are important or why Christians do these things. So why are pilgrimages important for Christians, or why do Christians go on pilgrimages? And you can actually use the same information for both of these styles of 6 markers. So we've got a couple of ideas down here. It helps Christians feel close to God. It helps Christians pray and worship, and it reminds Christians of God's love and power. So in your 6 mark questions and in your 12 mark questions, you will need to be able to use quotes. So remember, you need to reference the Bible when you're quoting these in your 6 markers. So there are no quotes about Iona or Lourdes, but what we will say is if you've got this quote, the still small voice of God, then actually if you go to this little coastal island where it's all quiet and in nature, you can hear that still small voice and you can use that as your quote. And obviously Lourdes is a place of miracles, of healing, and so we can use that quote, with God nothing is impossible, he is able to heal. So now let's just focus on one of the examples of pilgrimage that you need to know about, and that's the one to Iona. So we know that Iona is an island off the coast of Scotland where Christianity first came to Britain, and we know that it's known as a thin place. So let's think about 2 ways in which Christians experience pilgrimage. One way is that they feel close to God. So as it's a thin place, what that means is the veil between heaven and earth is at its thinnest. So therefore you are close to God and close to creation. Also, it's in order to connect to the community. So there is a Christian community that lives on Iona that you can spend time with as a Christian. So why is this pilgrimage important? Why do Christians do it? It helps Christians to feel close to God. It helps Christians appreciate God's creation. It helps Christians feel part of a community. It connects Christians to their history. So there's quite a lot you can say about that. Okay. And then because you are in nature, what we want to do is think about quotes from the Bible that really show this, because there's no quotes about Iona. So we can use that still small voice, or we can use the quote that says, be still and know that I am God. So Christians, when they go to Iona, have that chance to slow down, not have any distractions, be in nature and just get to know God. So let's focus now on Lourdes, which is the other pilgrimage that you need to know. So Lourdes is a place in France where there was a vision of the Virgin Mary by Bernadette, and it's believed to be a place of healing. So the water in Lourdes is believed to have healing properties. So there's two ways that Christians will experience Lourdes. They will either go there to be healed, because as I said, the water in Lourdes is believed to have healing properties since the vision of Mary, or they might experience it through taking someone else to be healed. So many sick people cannot travel alone, so they need someone to take them. So why is pilgrimage to Lourdes important? Well, it reminds Christians of God's power to heal. It connects them to important religious figures like Mary, but also Bernadette. And it also puts into practice Jesus' teaching of helping those in need, because some people go in order to help others. So what quotes can we use? Obviously, again, there's no quotes about Lourdes, but we can use that quote, with God, nothing is impossible, because this is a place of healing. Love your neighbour, or the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated, if you are going there in order to help other people. Remember, if you're quoting either of these things, you need to say that this quote comes from the Bible. So let's focus now on some exam questions, and we're going to look at 4 markers so you can see what this topic might look like if it came up as a question in the exam. So on the screen now, you will see some possible questions. So for your 4 markers, remember, these will always be asking you about ways in which something is practiced, and they could be similar ways or different ways. So 2 different pilgrimages, or 2 different ways that Christians practice pilgrimage, or they could be specific to Lourdes or Iona. I'm going to model a couple of these for you, but it's a really good idea that you have a go at some too. So set a 4-minute timer, have a go at completing some of these in time conditions. You can then take those answers to your teacher and they'll be able to mark them for you. So let's have a look at this one. Explain 2 different ways Christians practice pilgrimage. So in order to get 4 marks for this question, you need to have a simple explanation, you need to have a development of that, then a second simple explanation, and then a development of that. And your development can be a who, a what, a why, a where, a when, a how, an example, doesn't matter. And your simple explanations need to have a connective in it. So 2 different ways Christians practice pilgrimage. One way is by going to Iona, an island off the coast of Scotland. That's your simple explanation for your first mark. This is known as a thin place, as the veil between heaven and earth is at its thinnest. You've got your development there for your second mark. A different way is by going to Lourdes, which is a place in France. Your second simple explanation. This place is believed to have healing water since the Virgin Mary appeared to there. You've developed that. So you've got a very clear 4-mark answer. Okay. Will you notice that you don't have to answer in full sentences to get 4 marks? Okay, so you don't have to say one way that Christians practice pilgrimages. You can just go one way is. All right, just as long as you've got your simple explanation, development, simple explanation, and development. So let's have a look at another 4-marker, and this time it's a similar 4-marker. So explain 2 similar ways Christians practice pilgrimage to Lourdes, so being specific about where the pilgrimage is. One way is by going to Lourdes to receive healing, because they believe Lourdes has healing water. This is since the Virgin Mary appeared to Bernadette in a vision. A similar way is by taking someone else to Lourdes to get healed, because some people are too sick to travel by themselves. This puts into practice Jesus' teaching to help the sick. So you've got a simple explanation, development, and then your second paragraph is similar because it's still about going to Lourdes, but it's about taking someone else rather than going for yourself. Okay, and we've got another simple explanation and a development, and again we haven't answered in full sentences. So now let's have a look at some possible 6-mark questions. So on the screen I've got 3 possible 6-mark questions. You might want to just take a screenshot so you can practice a couple of those. I'm just going to model 1 for you. So remember, 6 markers are going to be similar structure, your 4 markers. Simple explanation, development, simple explanation, development. Except to get your 5th mark, one of your developments needs to be a quote with the source. And then for your 6th mark, you then need to apply that quote. So you just need to explain the quote and link it back to the question. So let's have a look at a model answer. So this is explain 2 reasons why Pilgrimage to Iona is important to Christians. Refer to sacred writings or another source of authority in your answer. It is important because it is a thin place, which means that the veil between heaven and earth is at its thinnest. This means Christians are able to experience what the Bible says is the still small voice of God. This shows how the voice of God is quiet, so it is important for Christians to go to a place like Iona to hear it. Simple explanation, we've got our development. Our development is a quote with the source. I've highlighted the Bible says in green. We've then applied the quote to the question to get our next mark. So that first paragraph would get 4 marks. You then need to do a second point, so it's also important because it is where Christianity first came to the British Isles around 1500 years ago with St. Columba. So that's our second simple explanation. This means Christians can connect to their history. I've developed that a little bit further. So again, that would be a model 6-mark answer, not written in full sentences, has the quote with the source, has applied the quote, and has got 2 simple explanations with developments as to why pilgrimage to Iona specifically is important to Christians. So I really hope, Year 11, that this has given you a little bit of a grounding in Christian pilgrimage, specifically to Iona and to Lourdes, as well as how to answer 4- and 6-mark questions. So take some time now, set a timer, have a go at some of those other 4- and 6-mark questions, take your answers into school for your teachers to mark, and good luck with your revision.